I was excited about Father's Day this year. All week long, my wife Sarah kept saying, "Timothy, do not make any plans for Sunday." Every time I tried to guess what they had planned, she would giggle and put her finger to her lips. My daughters Emma and Lily would exchange knowing glances whenever I entered the room. "It is a surprise," Sarah promised, squeezing my hand. "You deserve something special." The morning of, I woke up alone. No breakfast, no card. Just silence. By noon, I saw their Instagram story, a family brunch without me. Caption, "Best dad ever when he is not around, LOL." Before I tell you how my Father's Day turned into the wake-up call I never expected, let me know in the comments where you are watching from, and drop a like if you have ever felt invisible in your own family. I have always been the type of father who shows up. As a software developer working remotely for a tech company in Seattle, I have built my entire schedule around my family. While many of my colleagues struggle with work-life balance, I specifically chose this career path 18 years ago, when Sarah and I got married, knowing it would give me flexibility to be present for our future children. Our suburban home in Maple Grove was chosen for the excellent school district and family-friendly community. From the outside, we looked like the perfect American family. 2 beautiful daughters, Emma 16 and Lily 12. A successful wife who had climbed the corporate ladder to become a marketing executive. And me, Timothy Walker, the dad who never missed a school play, helped with science projects, attended parent-teacher conferences, and managed doctor appointments. What people could not see was how increasingly invisible I had become within my own household. Over the past year, the small dismissals had piled up like snowflakes, eventually creating an avalanche of disrespect that I had been trying to ignore. "Dad, not now," Emma would say, when I tried to talk about her day, not even looking up from her phone. "Timothy, we already decided on that." Sarah would announce about family decisions I had never been consulted on. During dinner conversations, I would start sharing a story only to have someone interrupt me mid-sentence. The family would naturally pivot to the interruption, leaving my thoughts perpetually unfinished. When I suggested weekend activities, they were usually met with eye rolls or quick dismissals. "That sounds boring," had become Lily's standard response. "We already have plans," was Sarah's frequent excuse, plans I somehow never knew about until they conflicted with my suggestions. Despite all this, Father's Day gave me hope. The secretive planning and whispered conversations whenever I approached made me believe they had been preparing something meaningful. Maybe they had finally noticed how much I had been giving, how much I had sacrificed to be the father and husband I thought they wanted. "Do not try to figure it out," Sarah said with unusual warmth the Wednesday before Father's Day. "This will be special." The girls were suddenly closing laptop screens when I walked past, or giggling behind their hands when I asked innocent questions about the weekend. Twice I overheard phone calls that abruptly ended when I entered the room, followed by Sarah saying, "He almost heard." My anticipation built as Sunday approached. On Friday, I even bought a new button-up shirt and nice jeans, wanting to look good for whatever they had planned. Maybe a family photo shoot, a surprise party with friends. Perhaps they had booked that sailing trip on Lake Minnetonka I had mentioned wanting to try. Friday night dinner felt charged with excitement. Sarah made my favorite lasagna, which was unusual since she rarely cooked these days. "Sunday is going to be amazing," Lily said, bouncing in her seat. "You have no idea what is coming," Dad, Emma added with a rare smile directed at me. That night I lay awake next to Sarah, listening to her steady breathing and imagining the thoughtful surprise they must have been planning. Maybe they had finally seen how the small rejections had been piling up. Perhaps this was their way of making amends, of acknowledging all the science fair projects, midnight fever, vigils, and daily lunches I had prepared. Saturday passed in a blur of normal weekend activities, though there was a current of anticipation running through the house. I caught Sarah texting frequently, smiling at her phone. When I asked casually what time I should be ready tomorrow, she just patted my cheek and said, "Just sleep in. We will take care of everything." I went to bed Saturday night feeling genuinely hopeful for the first time in months. Maybe things were going to change. Maybe I would finally feel valued again. Sunday morning I woke up to emptiness. The space beside me in our king-sized bed was cold, the sheets pulled back on Sarah's side. The house had that peculiar stillness that comes from complete absence. Sarah, I called out, my voice echoing through our two-story home. No response. I checked the time, 8:30 in the morning. Not particularly early, but not late either. I stretched, thinking they must be downstairs preparing some surprise breakfast. Maybe French toast, my favorite. Or perhaps they had gone out to pick up something special. I pulled on my robe and headed downstairs, expecting to smell coffee brewing or hear hushed, excited voices. Instead, I found our kitchen exactly as we had left it the night before. No breakfast set up. No card propped against the coffee maker. No sign anyone had been downstairs at all. "Hello," I called again, moving through our empty living room. "Emma, Lily?" I returned to our bedroom and checked my phone. No messages, no missed calls. Nothing to indicate where my family had gone or when they would return. A sliver of unease began to work its way into my chest, but I pushed it away. They had been so insistent about a surprise. Maybe this was part of it. I showered and dressed in my new clothes, then made myself a small breakfast, certain they would be back any minute. By 10 o'clock, the house remained silent. I sent a casual text to Sarah. "Good morning. Where did everyone disappear to?" No response. By 11, I had called Sarah twice, both times going straight to voicemail. I texted Emma, "Hey, sweetie, where are you guys?" Nothing. Noon came and went. The unease had transformed into a hollowness in my stomach that had nothing to do with hunger. I paced our house, checking windows whenever I heard a car pass on the street. I watered the plants. I straightened the already straight living room. I checked my phone every few minutes, the screen stubbornly empty of notifications. At 12:30, anxiety finally drove me to open Instagram, something I rarely did. And there it was, posted 30 minutes earlier on Sarah's story. A video of my wife, my daughters, and my in-laws at Bellamy's, the upscale brunch spot downtown that I had mentioned wanting to try for months. They were laughing, clinking mimosa, glasses, the girls drinking orange juice in sundresses I had never seen before. Sarah's caption froze the blood in my veins. "Best dad ever when he is not around. LOL. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through more posts. My mother-in-law had shared photos of a perfect Father's Day celebration, with her husband, my father-in-law, tagged as a real man who knows how to lead a family. Comments from Sarah's friends popped up. "Love this tradition. And he actually believed you were planning something for him and your poor husband. Lol. This was not a mistake. This was not them running late on some surprise. This was deliberate exclusion, wrapped in public mockery. With numb fingers, I opened Emma's messages to her best friend Zoe, which appeared on our shared iPad that Emma had forgotten to log out of. Emma. Dad thinks we are planning something special for him. Lol, Zoe. Oh my God, that's cold. Emma, Mom says it's funny. Besides, he's so clueless he probably won't even notice until we get back. I set the iPad down carefully, as though it might shatter. Or perhaps I was the one on the verge of shattering. The humiliation burned through me, leaving ash in its wake. Not only had they excluded me, but they had turned it into a public joke. A tradition according to the comments. How many Father's Days had they done this? How many years had I been the punchline to a joke I never knew was being told? I sank onto our couch, the same couch where we had watched movies together, where I had held sick children through, the night where I had fallen asleep, waiting for Sarah to come home from late meetings. The familiar cushions now felt like they belonged to a stranger's house. The betrayal cut deep, not just from Sarah, but from my daughters. Emma's casual cruelty in those messages. Lily's excited anticipation of the surprise that was really just my exclusion. Even my in-laws, who had always treated me with a thin veneer of tolerance, participating in this public humiliation. For hours I sat motionless as the Instagram posts accumulated likes. A video appeared of the girls shopping after brunch, Sarah narrating, "Perfect Father's Day continues." No one mentioned my absence. No one seemed to notice the missing piece of our family portrait. Tears came eventually, hot and unwelcome. I had not cried since my father passed away 5 years ago. Now they flowed freely as I confronted the painful truth I had become a convenience in my own family's life. The reliable provider they could mock behind his back. The punchline to a joke everyone seemed to understand except me. As afternoon faded into evening, something shifted within me. The tears dried up, replaced by a cold clarity I had never experienced before. I would not react impulsively. I would not send angry texts or desperate pleas. For once I would act with the same calculated indifference they had shown me. I moved through our house with new eyes, mentally cataloging the thousands of invisible contributions I had made. The repaired cabinet hinges, the maintained lawn, the organized garage, the stocked refrigerator, the paid bills neatly filed in my home office. I thought about my financial contributions, my software development salary that paid 70% of our household expenses, the college funds I had started for the girls when they were born, the retirement accounts I managed for both Sarah and myself, the careful budgeting that allowed Sarah to pursue her career ambitions without financial stress. Then I calculated the recognition received for these contributions, occasional distracted thanks, frequent complaints that I did not do enough. Public mockery on the one day meant to acknowledge fathers. The math did not add up. With methodical calm, I packed a small suitcase with essentials. Enough clothes for several days, toiletries, my laptop and work materials. I left my wedding ring on the bedside table, not as a dramatic gesture, but simply because I suddenly could not bear the weight of it on my finger. In the kitchen, I wrote a brief note on the magnetic pad we used for grocery lists. I saw your celebration. Needed time away. No accusations. No emotions. Just facts. I called my brother Marcus, who lived 3 hours away near Lake Geneva. Marcus had been telling me for years that I deserved better treatment. I had always defended Sarah and the girls, making excuses for their behavior. Now I had no excuses left to offer. "Come stay at the cabin," he said immediately after I explained what happened. "For as long as you need." I loaded my suitcase into my car and drove away from the home I had poured my heart into for 15 years. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the perfectly maintained lawn as I pulled out of the driveway. I did not look back. The 3-hour drive to Marcus's lakeside cabin passed in a strange blur of clarity. I did not turn my phone off, but I did mute notifications. I wanted to see how long it would take them to realize I was gone, to see if they would even notice before bedtime. Marcus was waiting on the porch when I arrived, a cold beer in each hand. Unlike me, my brother had always been direct about his needs and boundaries. Perhaps that explained his 3 failed marriages, or perhaps it explained why he never seemed to suffer the slow erosion of dignity I had experienced. "You look like hell," he said, handing me a beer. "I feel like I just woke up." I replied, surprising myself with the truth of that statement. That night, sitting on his dock watching the sunset reflect across Lake Geneva, I told Marcus everything. Not just the Father's Day humiliation, but the years of small dismissals, the growing invisibility, the one-sided effort. "You know what your problem is," Timothy, Marcus said, staring out at the water. "You think being a good father and husband means being a doormat. It does not. It means having enough self-respect to demand respect in return." The words hit me with the force of revelation. I had confused self-sacrifice with love. I had allowed my own erasure, one small indignity at a time. Monday dawned clear and cool. I checked my phone to find several texts from Sarah starting around 9 the previous night. "Where are you? Are you seriously mad about brunch? It was just a joke. You are overreacting. The girls are worried. Timothy, this is ridiculous. Come home now." Each message revealed more about our relationship than years of couples therapy could have. Not once did she ask if I was okay. Not once did she acknowledge that their actions might have been hurtful. My absence was an inconvenience, not a cause for reflection. I did not respond. Instead, I helped Marcus replace some rotting boards on his dock, the physical labor more therapeutic than any conversation could be. We worked silently, side by side, the repetitive motion of hammering bringing a strange peace. By Monday evening, Sarah's messages had escalated in frequency and urgency. Emma and Lily had both sent texts asking where I was, though their concern seemed prompted by Sarah rather than genuine worry. Still, I maintained my silence. Tuesday morning, Marcus and I drove to the local hardware store to buy supplies for additional cabin repairs. As we worked through the day, staining the deck and replacing a broken window, I felt a growing clarity about what needed to change in my life. The perspective of distance had revealed just how accustomed I had become to disrespect. At 4:30 Tuesday afternoon, I finally checked my phone again. The screen lit up with 63 missed calls and dozens of text messages. Most were from Sarah, increasingly frantic. Several were from the girls. One was from my mother-in-law, surprisingly demanding to know what game I was playing. The last message received just 20 minutes earlier was from Emma, "Please come home." We did not know. Did not know what? That I would see their posts, that I would be hurt, that I would finally reach my breaking point. The ambiguity of her message spoke volumes. I sat on the dock, phone in hand, and made my decision. I would go home tomorrow. Not to resume the status quo, but to establish the new normal. Either we would rebuild our family on a foundation of mutual respect, or I would need to consider whether this marriage was still serving any of us. For the first time in years, I felt the weight of my own worth. I deserved better. And perhaps by demanding better, I would actually become the father my daughters needed, not just the one they had taken for granted. Wednesday morning dawned bright and clear as I drove the now familiar route back to Maple Grove. The 3 hours alone in the car gave me time to rehearse what I needed to say to prepare for the conversations ahead. I was not angry anymore, just resolved. Things would change, or I would change my circumstances. I pulled into our driveway at 11:15. Sarah's car was there, which was unusual for a weekday morning. She should have been at her office downtown. The girls should have been at their summer activities, Emma at tennis camp, and Lily at her art class. The front door opened before I could reach it. Sarah stood there, her normally perfect makeup smudged from crying. Behind her I could see Emma and Lily hovering in the living room, their faces drawn with anxiety. "Where have you been?" Sarah demanded, her voice cracking. "We have been worried sick." I stepped past her into the house, setting my suitcase by the stairs. "I left a note," I said calmly. "I saw your Father's Day celebration and needed some time to think. It was just a stupid joke." Sarah followed me into the living room. "You completely overreacted." I looked at my daughters, who both seemed smaller, somehow younger than their ages. "Was it funny?" I asked them directly. "Did you enjoy the joke?" Emma looked down at her hands. Lily burst into tears. "Mom said you would not mind," Emma whispered. "That you never care about Father's Day anyway." "Is that true?" I asked, turning to Sarah. "Because I bought new clothes to wear for whatever surprise you had planned. I stayed up late Saturday night, excited about spending Sunday with my family." Sarah's expression faltered for the first time. "I did not think. It has been a tradition with my dad for years. We go to brunch without. It was my mother's idea originally." I saw the comments, I said quietly. This was not the first time. The color drained from Sarah's face. Those were just jokes between friends. Public jokes at my expense, I corrected her. Jokes that our daughters saw. Jokes that taught them their father deserves to be mocked. "You are blowing this way out of proportion," Sarah said, but her voice lacked conviction. "You disappeared for 3 days over a brunch." I disappeared because I finally recognized a pattern that has been building for years. I said, keeping my voice level. "I am not valued in this family. My contributions are taken for granted. My feelings are not considered. And apparently I am the punchline of family jokes I was never privy to." "That is not true," Sarah protested. "You are just so sensitive lately." "Dad," Emma interrupted, her voice small. "I did not know it would hurt you like this. I am really sorry." Her sincerity cracked something in the tense atmosphere. Lily moved closer, wrapping her arms around my waist in a tight hug. "Please do not leave again," she whispered against my shirt. I hugged her back, but maintained my resolve. "I need things to change," I said, addressing all of them. "I will not continue in a relationship where I am not respected." "What do you want?" Sarah asked, crossing her arms defensively. "A public apology. Your own Instagram post. I want family therapy," I said simply. "Non-negotiable. If we want to rebuild, we need help understanding how we got here. Therapy, Sarah scoffed, because of one misunderstanding. It was not a misunderstanding, Emma said, surprising us all. Mom, we were really mean to Dad, and not just on Sunday. She turned to me, tears streaming down her face. I did not realize until you were gone how much you do for us. We could not even find the password for the internet bill, or make the coffee right, Lily added, or know when to take out the garbage, or handle anything, apparently Emma finished. Mom has been crying since Monday night when we realized you really were not coming back. I looked at Sarah, who was now staring at the floor, her defensive posture crumbling. I did not think you would leave, she said quietly. You never leave. Maybe that was part of the problem, I replied. I was so reliably present that I became invisible. The silence that followed held more honesty than our conversations had in years. I will go to therapy, Sarah finally said. We all will. You are right, things need to change. That first therapy session was one of the most difficult conversations of our lives. Sarah had to confront her pattern of dismissing my feelings. The girls had to recognize how they had mirrored their mother's behavior. I had to acknowledge my role in enabling their treatment by never establishing boundaries. Our therapist, Dr. Calloway, did not allow anyone to hide behind excuses or deflections. Respect, she told us in that first session, is not a luxury in families. It is the foundation everything else is built upon. Over the next 2 months, we did the difficult work of rebuilding that foundation. There were setbacks, moments when old patterns threatened to reemerge. Sarah struggled with defensiveness. I had to learn to speak up immediately rather than letting resentments build. The girls needed constant reminders that dismissive comments were not acceptable. 6 months later, the changes were noticeable to everyone. Sarah and I implemented weekly check-ins where we discussed family dynamics openly. The girls made conscious efforts to express appreciation for the things I did. I became more vocal about my needs and feelings, rather than silently hoping someone would notice. By the time the next Father's Day arrived, I approached it with cautious optimism, rather than desperate hope. The difference was remarkable. No public spectacle, just sincere appreciation. A handmade card from Lily. A playlist Emma had created with songs she knew I loved. A full day of family activities that everyone participated in enthusiastically. Most importantly, it felt genuine. Not performed for social media or others' approval, but a true recognition of my place in our family. That night, after the girls had gone to bed, Sarah and I sat on the porch swing, watching fireflies appear in the summer darkness. I almost lost you, she said quietly. I did not even realize what I was doing. I almost let you, I replied, because I did not value myself enough to demand better. Sometimes the most painful lessons create the most profound changes. My temporary absence had done what years of silent endurance could not. It made me visible again, not just to my family, but to myself. I learned that sometimes people only truly understand your value when they experience your absence. And I learned that advocating for myself did not make me less of a father or husband. It made me a more authentic one. Have you ever reached a breaking point in a relationship that ultimately led to positive change? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else find the courage to establish healthy boundaries. Do not forget to like this video if it resonated with you, and subscribe to the channel for more stories about finding your voice in difficult situations. Share with someone who might need to hear that their feelings matter. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply value yourself enough to expect respect.